All right, happy Thursday night, everybody. Welcome on into the Hat Creek Interiors studios this evening here in Raiderland. Custom furniture and accessories. You don't have to own a ranch to live like you do with great furnishings. They can make it happen. Hatcreek.us if you're outside of Lubbock. 10101 Slide Road, just a little bit past 98th Street. There, go to the showroom. They ship anywhere. Awesome stuff. Go check out their Facebook page, their website at hatcreek.us, and then tell them thanks for supporting what we do in Raiderland. Amazing, cool stuff. And they ship anywhere. If you're outside the immediate Raiderland area, they're going to get it to you. All right, we've got stuff to do tonight. What are we doing tonight? Texas Tech at Kansas State. Season defining game, current program defining game. You've had troubles at Kansas State. It is the Bermuda Triangle. You don't win there. Good teams, bad teams, and teams in between go to die in Manhattan at Texas Tech. Does this team have no memory of that? Is this the game, maybe even more so than Utah or even Arizona State, that if Texas Tech wins this, you say, yeah, this is different? And I know some of you right now are saying, well, yeah, but you got to get to BYU. We'll get to BYU when we get to BYU for Texas Tech. Is this a program defining game for Joey McGuire in this program right now? You tell us why or why not. We are tonight. I ain't kidding either. We're really going to visit with John Kurtz. At least I think we are. I think everything's set up. I think it's good to go. We're going to talk to him tonight about Kansas State. His Open for Business Big 12 podcast is fantastic. We link to it most days in the Raiderland Hot Links, brought to you by Jackson Brothers Meat Locker in Post, Texas. West Texas legends over a couple of generations now. They ship to you. You can go down there, and they do all sorts of meat processing as well. So, hey, you kill a deer, they'll process it. It's a lot easier than you doing it. It's overrated, underrated, rated right. Thursday, sports statistics. Sports stats, the ones that matter, don't matter, that you care about. You tell me. We are inundated today with stats. And not just football, but I'm going to focus on two football stats that I think matter now, more so than completion percentage or third down conversion rate, although it ties into it. You'll understand as we go through. Let's do a show, shall we? I want to hear from you. You guys get on the United Supermarkets chat line, the supermarket that takes care of Texas Tech, that's happy to put their name on things at Tech, versus maybe another one in town that takes your money. Happy to do that. And they're happy to put your money into, say, a school down south in Central Texas. In 3, in 2. Good evening, West Texans. All you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt. TheRaiderland.com, the website, brought to you tonight by Ninja Pest Control in Lubbock. I did not know this until back in the summer. Ninjas hate pest. Well, that's good. I hate pest. You hate pest. Ninjas hate pest. They like to kill pest, and they can do it outside your home, inside your home. If you got pest issues, you need to call Ninja Pest Control in Lubbock. It's a fun, cool name, but they don't screw around when it comes to eradicating pestilence and pest around your domicile. So check them out. They're on the website, Ninja Pest Control in Lubbock. Tell them we said hey. Also brought to you by McAlpin Chiropractic, the official chiropractor of Raiderland. For so many years, I've said to Kevin McAlpin, Kevin, you're missing out. Your slogan ought to be, if your back's out of whack, don't call a quack, call Kevin Mack. To which he replies, I'll get sued. Okay, I can respect that. Apparently, in the medical community, they have standards, and in advertising, we don't have any. Anyhow, Kevin McAlpin, great West Texan. He's worked with high-level Texas Tech athletes for decades, track and field, you name it, and he's worked with my own family members. Can't give you a better endorsement than that for Kevin McAlpin. So let's get it going tonight on the United Supermarket chat line. John Kerr's going to join us about halfway through the program or so. So the first half, it's all about you. I want to get your thoughts on the importance, the meaningfulness, and everything about this Tech K-State game. Tech favored by 7. Tech's the better team. Tech's more talented than Kansas State. By the way, that's another topic we may broach. If not this week, I don't know. When we're running out of time now, well, not really. We still got 4 games left in the season. But the idea of Tech being the most talented team, I heard a pundit today on a network say, BYU right now is their number one team in the Big 12, but Texas Tech is the most talented team, which to me is kind of a backhanded compliment of saying, yeah, you have a lot of talent, but you're not playing like it. We'll get to BYU later. But this game, to me, this is where if you are different, this is where you prove it if you're Texas Tech. That nothing that's transpired in the past, nothing that has happened over the last 10, 20 years, however far back you want to go, it doesn't matter. That you're talented and you go win as a favorite on the road. So when I say program defining, season defining, I think it means something. So you tell me how you feel about that, and then give me the stats that don't matter, the stats that do matter. Jeff, going to lead it off tonight on the United Supermarkets chat line. He gets in. If you lose, it's season defining. If you win, it's just another game on the way to the Big 12 title game. I agree with that. But to me, if you say it's season defining if you lose, it's got to be season defining if you win too. Same with next week. If we make it there, then the Utah game was the defining game. Yeah, no. And I know what you're saying. I get it. We are dancing in the gray areas of discussions of a season. But Tech's won games like that at Utah in the past. They have. But then they ganked it up along the way at different times. I get what you're saying. I get that each win makes the next game even more defining. But this is the game that you haven't been able to win for decades. No, well, not decades. For a while. But I get what you're saying, Jeff. On our YouTube channel, I hope Jeff, I know he is. I know he does. He hits thumbs up. He hits share. We went over 600 subscribers on YouTube. A paltry amount compared to our guest coming up in John Kurtz in the Open for Business podcast. A paltry amount. Maybe he'll throw us just a few subscribers tonight. But I appreciate you guys. We want to grow to 700 and maybe 1,000 by the end of the season. Stephen, meanwhile, on Twitter X at Ryan Hyatt Media. Besides turnovers, time of possession, fresh defensive players make more plays, especially in the fourth quarter. Well, yeah, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much why you lost at Arizona State. Time of possession, I think, was the biggest reason in a defense that was totally gassed going out there. And you can gripe about the offense scoring fast. I had no problem with the offense scoring fast there at the end of the Arizona State game. When you've sucked all day at scoring and you get a chance to score. All right? It wasn't what happened then. It was what happened the previous 35 minutes or so. He's John Dry on YouTube. Kansas State is always our kryptonite, even when they suck. And we are badass. Old kryptonite. Bob, if we don't beat Kansas State, BYU doesn't matter. Truly it doesn't. It would take a vast amount of upsets around the league that right now, every day you wake up, if you're Texas Tech and you're a football player, you control your own destiny to the Big 12 title game. You win out, you're there. You lose to Kansas State, now you need help. Now you got to have multiple losses, and then you'd have to beat BYU and hope for another loss for them. You'd lose the tiebreak over them. So, yes, if you don't beat Kansas State, BYU doesn't matter. That's not the question, though. Is this a season-defining game? Is this the game that tells you that this Texas Tech team is different? That if they go there and win, that you go, all right, this team really has no past memory. That the players brought in the transfer portal, in the age of NIL, they truly, why should they care? Why should they have anything to do with anything that's happened, quite frankly, in this program, good or bad? Now, this is a great moment where you say, hey, the bad stuff that's happened at Kansas State, you weren't a part of it. You weren't there with Matt Wells or Cliff Kingsbury, Tommy Tuberville. You weren't there. This is one of the great things I think about the transfer portal with programs like Texas Tech, where you don't have 40 years of just hanging championships and walking through the door and seeing all these great trophies. But instead, it's a negative, and people are walking around saying, "You got to watch out about Kansas State, son. I tell you what, son, you got to watch out about them Wildcats, man. They beat us all the time. They don't give a shit. They weren't there. Bailey hadn't been there. Romello Height hasn't been there. J.B. Holmes hasn't been there. You know? It's one of the things I love about it. I can tell we're not going to have time to get to a lot of great stats. I'm going to give you two great stats, DVOA and EPA. Expected points added per play is one of the great stats that nobody really talks about because it's hard to explain on a broadcast or otherwise. And then DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. That's even more in the weeds. Are we talking about analytics? Yes, we are. I mean, I look at football now and, you see different stats and I'm like, doesn't translate anymore, Jeff going, any stat that says on Saturday night games when the temperature is above 50 and the wind blows from the southwest during daylight savings time, worthless, unless it's baseball. That's where we love that stat in baseball. We do love that stat in baseball. JC Double T, nothing that has happened in the past years matters at all. That's where JC right now could just do the mic drop and go, yeah. But he says the players and the coaches don't care. Traumatized fans can't understand that. One game won't cure y'all. Only Arlington can. JC saying y'all like he might be a player or something right there. Like he's on the inside. No, I get what you're saying. That and I'm gonna step outside the media box for a second and go Tech fan over here, or any fan really. So yeah, we suffer from long-term battered fan syndrome. And that if you're my age or old or younger, even a little bit younger, or whatever, that you've got years of being beat down on certain things, and it's hard for you to grasp it from the standpoint of the way the players grasp it. And I really learned that in the 2000s, early to mid 2000s, doing Lady Raider basketball after doing it for not decades at that, but yeah, damn near decades, many years, and even Texas Tech baseball, that the 18 to 22-year-old had no real memory or anything imprinted upon them, and many of them came from places outside of West Texas or non-traditional Tech places that they didn't care. I mean, there were a lot of them, and this was fascinating to see over the years, that Tech fans, you read up about playing A&M or UT or fill in the blank. They didn't care. They had no imprint on their memory of that. I think that's really good a lot of times. Hard for fans to understand. Kansas State defense ranked 73, Tech ranked 10. End of story. Tech fans will hope you're right. I'll say this, and we're going to visit, hopefully, maybe, with John Kurtz from the Open for Business podcast, longtime Kansas State media coverage dude and Big 12 dude. I hope we got it ready to go. We're going to find out here in just a second. So is it the Tech defense versus Avery Johnson, or the Kansas State defense versus Baron Morton? Vegas Free Plays gets in on Twitter X at Ryan Hyatt Media. Stat-wise, on paper, Tech should dominate. Scoring offense and defense top 5. Yeah, on paper. We're not going to play it on paper. And then finally, Angel Briones, 8831. 8831. I'm trying to think of what a year and a... Anyways, good afternoon. Don't really have nothing to say. That's my line, Angel. Just love watching the show. Got faith in Tech this weekend. Appreciate it. One more before we bring in John Kurtz. Big 12 YouTube replaying the first Big 12 game, Tech, Kansas State tonight. Donnie Hart was in bounds. And my battered fan stat that I've since going to Norman 08, never bet against OU at home at night. And then finally, John Dry, I watch John Kurtz show too. And nobody likes him more than we do. Let's bring him on in right now. He is the host of Open for Business podcast. John Kirk, everybody. John, good to have you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. What an intro, man. Never been better.
Getting better than that. John Dry there on our feed. Love John Kirk show. It's sort of like Captain Kirk, but different, out of the heartland.
Yeah, I'll take that. I feel like there's worse comps that could probably be made.
It's a good show because you got Neon.
I know.
Seriously, serious question here. The Open for Business Neon deal. Like, can you order that online, or how did you get that done?
Yeah, I actually have to thank Instagram ads for that, because when I was redoing the office here, I mean, the plan was to just have this like plain paneled background here, and then one day I was on Instagram ads and it popped up like neon signs. The Cats by 91 I had seen in a bar before in Aggieville in Manhattan. And so I'd always had that on my mind, like I would love to get that done. And I saw this ad for like they'll just do custom neon signs, and I was like, wait, and it just kind of like clicked, like, hold up, I could do dueling signs here. So I got two different backgrounds depending on if I'm doing the K-State podcast or what. So yeah, Instagram ad, and it's actually quite easy. I mean, they have a bunch of different fonts, and you just type in what you want and make it happen. I wish I remembered the name of the company. I'd give them a free plug, but I don't know. Just Google neon signs.
The one out of Aggieville, was that out of Rusty's, or was that someplace else?
No, maybe. It was in one of the. So here's the problem these days: the bars in Aggieville have changed a bunch. Like the bunch of things have turned over so many times since I've been in school, because I'm getting old now. I know like the building where it's at, but I can't remember what it's currently called and what it was called then. At one point it was called 1863, which is when the school was founded. I'm not sure if it's still that or not. Don't quote me on that.
There you go. I guess we ought to talk a little bit about this football game. It's fairly interesting now, particularly after what Kansas State's done the last couple of weeks, and certainly last weekend up there at Lawrence. First question out of the bat: why does Kansas State hate Tech so much that they got really good last week? That looked like a really good football team. Was that the team that you guys thought you were going to get out of the gate going to Dublin?
It's certainly closer to it, right? I mean, I think the story of this season has been there's basically been two seasons, or at least there have been two different teams. Like they've really been pretty good since the UCF game, which was September 27th. From that point, that was coming off the first bye, so they had like totally reset the season. And I mean, the criticism they got was completely fair for the first half of the season. Ireland, I mean, I guess that's one thing. They were competitive in that game, but the three games, I mean, they played as poorly, I think, as basically any Power 4 football team has this year. And so they earned all the heat that came from that and all the reluctance for anybody to buy in once they started playing better after that. But once they hit the UCF game, they win that game by a couple of scores. Now, that one, granted, was with Dylan Edwards, where they kind of ran all over UCF with Dylan Edwards. Since then, he played a little bit at Baylor, and then they go to Waco, and they're up 14 with the ball in the fourth quarter, and somehow found a way to lose that game, which is just maddening because they would be totally right in the thick of the Big 12 race right now had they just hung on to that. But they were still obviously playing well enough to be in control in the fourth quarter in Waco. And they come back and they beat TCU by a couple of scores, and then they go to Lawrence and win by 25. So they really have been a much different team for about a month now. It was just, I think, the most impressive effort of everything coming together against Kansas, and there was extra motivation there. They didn't like being a dog for the first time since 2009 in that series. They talked a lot about that after the game. Some of it, I think, is they've basically they started trying. I mean, that much effort the first month of the season in that 3-game stretch. So they started playing with like requisite effort, toughness, intensity. And then I think the other thing that's happened is since Dylan Edwards like only played a little bit against Baylor and then has been out since then, I think they've adjusted to life without him. They have a very pedestrian running back room outside of him. And the offensive line, I think, is getting better, but it's not as good as it has been in the past. So they've just leaned on the passing game. Like it took Matt Wells some time to figure out that like the one thing this offense does well is throw the ball down the field. Chase Brown is one of the Big 12's best receivers. He's a really good deep threat. Jerron Tibbs has been a great number 2. Garrett Oakley's been an awesome tight end. JB Bradley's had his moments when healthy. So their receiving core has just been much better than it has been in years past. And I think once they finally were like, hey, like this is what we can do. We can push the ball down the field. We can stretch the field. And Avery has been great with the deep ball. I mean, frankly, he's less accurate, I think, on intermediate stuff than he is throwing the ball down the field right now. So I think it's been a combination of those things. First, they had to hit it's like building blocks. You got to give enough effort to be a decent team. Then it was like, all right, we'll lean on Dylan Edwards. And I was like, okay, well, we don't have him, and I don't think he's going to play the rest of the year. And so now it's all right, what do we do? And they figured out their strength, which is pushing it down the field.
As any good guess would do, you just took away my last 4 questions, because I was going to talk about, how do you define this team right now? I think you just did a great job of kind of where it is. Tech fans, Matt Wells, blah, blah, blah. All right, we're not going to go through all of that. From a K-State perspective, what was he not doing offensively the first part of the year that was frustrating people, and what is he doing now, more specifically play calling or otherwise? Or is it just pushing it downfield? Is it that simple that you turn in Johnson loose downfield?
I think there's just I will say, in fairness to Matt Wells, and I've had my frustrations with him this year, as has the entire fan base for sure. But in fairness to him, there was so much wrong at the beginning of the year that it's hard to say, hey, this is all. I mean, if you want to say Matt Wells should have had all the pieces in place together before you're actually out there calling plays, then okay, like maybe we can have that conversation. But the offensive line, they had some really expensive, highly touted transfers on the offensive line. One of them, George Fitzpatrick, who was going to be their plug and play left tackle from Ohio State. They loved him. He had a really serious heat-related incident in the summer before camp even started, and so he hasn't played. He's not going to play all year, so that hurt the offensive line already. J.B. Nelson, who was a Penn State transfer, who was just sort of the odd man out on what people thought was one of the best offensive lines in the country. He's been okay. It's taken some time, but that didn't work really. It was like a plug-and-play thing. Amos Talalele came from USC. He was having some weight issues and had to get that down, and now he has and is playing well, but that took some time. Like none of that really worked. So the offensive line was struggling. You had the Dylan Edwards injury or whatever it's been saga at the beginning of the year. So he was in and out, and I think they probably overestimated the rest of their running back room behind him. So they had to figure that out. They've had J.B. Bradley got hurt a little bit in the receiving core. They've just had drops. Jerron Tibbs had some huge drops for them early on in the year. So it was like nothing. Nothing was, you couldn't rely on anything in the offense. So it's no surprise that the play calling seems like it sucks when nothing's really working. And the same goes for like people judging Avery Johnson. Like the infrastructure around him just was not very good. Now, having said that, I think one of the really frustrating things that people had early on in the year was because the running game wasn't really working. They did a lot of, you could go back and Google like at JL Kurtz tweets that talk about 4-yard out routes. Like they were trying to like manufacture a running game with short passes.
Oh, believe me, we know.
Yeah, it was not working. It was not working because again, guys were dropping passes. They weren't crisp in how they were executing it. So there was no chance to run after the catch. A lot of them were happening on like 3rd and 6. And so you'd be 2 yards short of the sticks anyway. Just a lot of that going on. I think that was the most frustrating thing. But I would say like the Baylor game is the one where I feel like coaching let them down. Some of it was some game management stuff from Kleiman, but there was also like they're up 14 with the ball in the 4th quarter. They were having a decent amount of success running the ball. And Wells was kind of, I think, trying to go for the kill shot to push it down the field. And that's when you got the pick 6 from Avery, and that really swung the game. And I think a lot of people are like, hey, if you would have just kept running the ball, you can even just squeeze a field goal out of that drive. Like you're winning the game. So I think that cost them. And now it just feels like they've settled into it a little bit more. They seemingly have just like accepted, hey, we're not going to have Dylan Edwards. We got to get what we can out of Joe Jackson and Devon Rice. It's kind of like Dylan Edwards light as a young guy back there. And yeah, they have just acquiesced to like, hey, we got to let Avery do what Avery's going to do. I think Avery's become just a little more confident and aggressive too, even in the way he runs. He had a couple scrambles at Kansas that were a little more decisive and aggressive, and that was a thing people were really wanting to see for a lot this year. So I think a lot of things have sort of come together to make Matt Wells' life a little bit easier as a play caller too.
I know you got a lot of stuff to do. I got two more questions for you, and we'll kick you loose and let you do your own real life stuff. For Kansas State to win, give me two or three things that if you could check off on the old Jimmy the Greek check deal, that if K-State does this, they get the win over Texas Tech. What are those two or three things?
Well, the biggest thing and the thing that scares me the most from a K-State perspective is just protect the quarterback. And to be honest with you, I don't really know how they do it. I'm sort of two minds on this game where I'm like, I mean, situationally, everything seems to line up to point toward like, hey, you've got a home underdog that you should pay a lot of attention to here. Like the crowd's going to be juiced. I mean, I think everybody thought in this fan base, we're not going to get a good home game this year. Like not one with this kind of excitement or buildup or anything. And the team's turned it around just in time to get, the most talented team in the Big 12 coming in for this. So they're going to have a great crowd. You've got the potential look ahead factor for Texas Tech next week. I think if they win, College Game Day is going to be there. So huge look ahead factor. You've got, I don't know in the day of transfers, this matters maybe as much, but you do look at it and say, well, K-State's won 8 straight and 12 of the last 13. So like, does that, is there a bit of a mental block there? There certainly seems to be one for Kansas, who's lost 17 straight times now to K-State. So is there something there? And Baron Morton coming back obviously is huge for Tech, but he's been knocked out of 3 games. Like what happens if you have to go to Mitch Griffiths at quarterback? Like, so there's a lot of things situationally. I'm like, okay, I can definitely talk myself into K-State really has a chance, but then I'm like, none of that helps you block David Bailey on the edge. Like none of that's stopping Romello Height. Like, so you still got to find a way to do that. And like I said, K-State's offensive line has been a bit shaky at times this year. Now they've also been great at not giving up sacks, which a lot of that is Avery's been a quick decision maker. I think sometimes to his own detriment. He gets the ball out really fast. And is athletic enough to avoid sacks. So to me, it's like, number one, you gotta give Avery Johnson time enough to hit some of those deep balls and get it down the field, because that's what you worry about. And Tech obviously can just rush 4 a lot of times and not, they can get away without having to blitz in doing that. So that would be number one. I think they're going to need turnovers. That defense, you just look at like every statistical category for that defense, and it starts getting really daunting, thinking like, how are you going to move the ball? If they are having to start from the 20 every time offensively, I don't think you're going to score enough points. I think you need some short fields. The good news there, K-State's defense has been, they are 3rd in the country in turnovers forced right now. So the defense has done that. And that has been one of the turning points in the season too, is when they started really forcing turnovers. I think the secondary's gelled. They've gotten some guys healthy. That has helped. So protect Avery, get some turnovers, and then I really worry about special teams. I think Tech has some pretty good special teams units, some dangerous returners. One of my other bugaboos constantly, and this is weird because K-State special teams used to always be so good. They have not been very good the last few years, and that scares me endlessly, honestly, about this game, as I worry about Tech popping a big return or two. And I mean, heck, even last week, I mean, K-State fumbled the opening kickoff last week. It set up Kansas's early touchdown. Like, this is amazing. This is one of the most amazing stats of the college football season. K-State's offense has turned it over 3 times all year. That's it. 3 times. Their special teams unit has turned it over 5 times this year. So there's that. So I worry about special teams too.
All right. Big 12's been kind of not making a big deal, but whatever, this is the rematch of the inaugural first ever Big 12 game played. I know where I was. What were you doing that day in late August of 96?
Yeah, I was there, man. I was there. I tweeted the ticket stub there earlier today just to prove it. I'm trying to remember, like, if
now,
I have
you were 9 years old.
I was 7, so I was born in 89, and so I was 7 years old, and I'm trying to remember. It was just after my birthday too. I would have just turned 7.
Oh, that's great.
I'm trying to remember if I have like specific memories from the game. I mean, the only thing I remember is I always remember seeing the highlight of the Mario Smith hit, but I actually physically being there at the game, I don't know that I really remember a whole lot. But I was jacked for it, man. I mean, we had season tickets. My grandpa was a professor at K-State, so we would go stay with my grandparents every week for those games back in the day. And so, like, from the time I was a baby, I was getting taken into K-State games with the season tickets there. So, that was a big one. I've still got a program from that game over there in my office somewhere too. Maybe I should bust that out tonight. But
that ought to be good. And if you want to make Tech fans happy, just say Donnie Hart was inbounds. That's
yeah,
all
so
you got to say. Donnie Hart was inbounds.
I did want to mention that because I saw Tech fans tweeting that at me, and finally I was like, well, someone please show me the video.
Give me some video or something.
Yeah, I was like, I legitimately didn't. I'm like, I don't remember that because obviously as a K-State fan, they had these highlight tapes every year that you get with your season tickets. I watched them
leave that part out.
They don't show that highlight. So I didn't see it. So somebody did send the video to me this week, and I was like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, he looks like he was in bounds. Yeah, that looked like a bad call. So I'll give you that.
Don't matter, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, tell folks about your podcast. It's more than a podcast. It's a live show. It's interactive and everything. And, tell folks where they can find you because what you're doing is awesome. As I've told you before, I love what you're doing media-wise. It's really cool to watch.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ryan. So make sure and check it out on YouTube. Just search Open for Business or John Kurtz. You'll find it either way there, the Open for Business podcast on YouTube. It was just John Kurtz. I've just rebranded now everything under Open for Business. So I do a couple of live streams. I am actually going to do one in about an hour here tonight. Usually it's Wednesday, Thursday, and then Sunday. And then I've got the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com. If you want to subscribe to that, ofbnews.com. It's totally free. It'll come to your inbox twice a week. One of them just went out about an hour or two ago. And you can follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz. If you are interested in like a K-State specific perspective on this, I do the 3 Mob podcast with a couple of other guys that cover K-State. So you can find that wherever you get podcasts. And I should mention too, I keep forgetting to do this. If you're more of a podcast listener as opposed to YouTube, you can find the Open for Business Big 12 podcast just wherever you find podcasts as well, Apple, Spotify, etc. So lots of ways to get in touch.
See my boy Matt Walters. Tell him I said hey, okay?
Yeah, I will. I should. I'm going to be there Saturday, so I should see him. I will tell him hey.
I can't tell you thanks enough. I know how busy you are. I know what it means to me, and I know our audience was clamoring for John Kirk to be on this show this week. So thanks for hanging out. All right, man?
Hey, anytime, Ryan. I appreciate you, man.
Hope we see you soon. Be well.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got a couple of seconds left to wrap it up. I don't think we got anything else we got to get to right off the bat on any of the comments. Let's see. What is this hate level for Barron? He's the biggest hater in the U.S. I don't know about that. Props to John for his vociferous defense of Tech fans during the tortilla fiasco. Agreed on that. Don't know. If Morton goes the entire game with that injury and the O-line returns, Tech wins. And Jeff, thanks for having Kurtz. He's great. Yeah, he is. He's a good dude. Known each other a long time, covered a lot of Big 12 stuff. He's obviously significantly younger than I am, Good grief. He's sitting there first grade. I'm sitting there hosting the Tech Network pregame and postgame show on that August day in 1996. Had a lot of fun tonight. We're going to archive this. I want you guys to do the Power 5. Get all of our sponsors tonight. Ninja Pest Control, McAlpin Chiropractic. They're on Facebook. United Supermarkets. And, of course, Hat Creek Interiors. They're on Facebook as well. Tell them thanks. If 5 people go tell our people thanks every night, it's awesome. And then, spread the word. We're going to archive this here in a few minutes. We got stuff to do tonight. We'll have the archive up in just a little bit. Big Friday show predictions. Most Texan thing, all those sort of things coming up tomorrow. Hey, you guys are the best audience out there in the world. I appreciate you being out there, and we will see you either on Twitter tonight at Ryan Hyatt Media or on our Facebook page when we will post our really cool daily dose of West Texas photo, or on the website at theraiderland.com.